that explains everything that, most of what I need to say, but there's something that I want everybody to understand. First of all, on a personal note with every single one of you, I appreciate the relationship that we've had over the past several years. I appreciate that you have been willing to share information and share the information that the county has put out. We sit here and talk all the time, but without you, nobody's going to see it or hear it. So it's because of you that I think the successes that we've had, and I want to talk about our employees, but the successes we've had, the few things that we've been able to do and been able to maintain, folks wouldn't even know about that if it weren't for the work that we've had and the relationship that we've had with all of you. And I just want to say on a very personal note for each one of you, I appreciate you. Changes, I know we've had changes along the way in several positions, but I've been able to maintain relationships with and feel like I can, that I depend on you, and I know that when I give you information, you're going to put the truth out there. If I agree with it or not, you're going to put what's right out there, and I really respect you for what you do. So thank you for what you do. I do want to say on the employee side, that commission chairmen come and go, and the process will continue to run. I think the citizens of this county need to understand that the reason that the process continues to run is because of the employees of this county. I feel like this last commission has been incredibly successful at maintaining a situation that has been very, very difficult. But the only reason that we've been able to have that success is because our employees continue to work hard and continue to do what they know needs to be done to keep this county running. So I appreciate, and I will never be able to say thank you enough to the employees for what they do. And long beyond my time here, those employees will continue to do their jobs and continue to do things to make this county work and move forward. And I hope that you will emphasize the importance of that. This decision is about me. The decision is a decision I have to make for my family. But ultimately, it's about this county. That's what this should be about. It's not about me, it's about this county and how the county is going to go going forward, and I know that it will be successful because of its employees. Despite whatever bumps and humps that come down the road, we've got some very good people working with us. So thank you, and I'd like you to please make sure that you know that I thank them for what they do. And with that, I guess we can handle it however you guys want to with questions or whatever else.
Who's taking your spot?
Do what?
Who's taking your spot?
The governor will appoint. Yeah. So, how do you want it? Do you want to have like an interview sit down like we normally do for the folks with the video cameras? Do you want to do that?
Yeah, because I'll have to make you.
You want me to sit here and you guys be on that side?
Yeah, wherever you would like to sit. And kind of slip it up for the last one.
Not the last. I got 6 more weeks.
Was it 6
We hope there'll be more stuff. Hopefully,
okay.
While I may be a little more absent for the next 6 weeks, I will still be available. I will do my best to make myself available.
Will you go over the things that you have to finish up with other than the budgets, like other things that are going on in the county that maybe the entire public doesn't know about?
Such as we got a lot of things, but I don't know how much we will finish. We'll just continue to try to make strides in it. But yeah, we can talk about when we're ready to ask the question. I'll answer to the best of my ability any question that's asked. Okay, so how do we need to do this? You want to move your camera over here so that I can kind of look in that direction?
I'm
not
fine
feel
right
like
here.
I'm going like this.
You're good.
Okay, all right. So shoot. Just don't shoot too hard.
So how's the process going to be of replacing your vacant position?
The governor will make an appointment. Like I said, the governor's office was notified this morning, received the letter. They have been notified prior. However, they just received the letter this morning about the official resignation and the date for that resignation. So the process from here is that the governor will appoint, and I trust that they'll look to the best interest of our county.
Have you had any say in who it will be?
It's not my position to have an official say.
I know you already mentioned it, but can you go ahead and just tell us a little bit about what prompted your decision?
The biggest thing that I found over this past several weeks is the commitment that I feel like is required for this position. I feel like, and I hope that I've shown, I'm incredibly passionate about the job that I do. I love what I do. There are very bad days, but there are great days. But ultimately, I love serving the public. It's been my passion for many years. So while it's not an easy decision, I feel like that if I am to pursue this other opportunity, which ultimately I do feel like is the best route for my family, if I'm to pursue that, then I can't give this county what it deserves as a full-time chairman, and it does deserve a full-time chairman. It deserves somebody that will commit the hours necessary.
What's your work schedule going to be here at the commission?
As far as over the next 6 weeks, we'll be planning with budget meetings and things like that. There is no set schedule. I'll be planning meetings, making calls. A lot of what I did before was not always here at the courthouse. I spend a lot of time out in the county visiting, looking at different issues and concerns and things like that. So I'll continue to do that along with, as I move into this other position where I can. But my primary focus will be to work on this budget with the commission. So we'll have several more budget meetings to get that process completed.
What kind of problems do you see, or can you tell us about with the upcoming budget? Or see, I know there's been lots of budget crisis with the, with problems with the TVA in lieu of tax and basically decreasing the funding. What are you seeing as far as the budget goes as upcoming problems now?
I mean, we still
The
have
new
this-
commission. I apologize. As a new commissioner, would have to deal with it. Sure.
We're facing the same issues that we've dealt with to a lesser extent to some degree. We've cut, lots of dollars in order to maintain where we are and still have a deficit at about $350 this last year. This next year, it's possible that we will not have a deficit, and if that happens, it's going to be because of the 5% fee that we can take from the education sales tax. If that's not taken, then we will continue with the deficit. Regardless of what happens with that this year, I anticipate we're going to have a deficit again next year because we'll continue to see the TVA in lieu of tax drop. So the challenge will remain there until something happens to either reverse the problem with revenue or create new revenue for our county. And, when we talk about, I don't see a problem, the employees feel it. If you drive on a lot of county roads, you feel it. Your car feels it. So there are issues that need to be dealt with. We need more sheriff's deputies. We need more jailers. We need dollars to pave our roads. These things are things that are not wants. They are needs for our county. But ultimately, we won't see that change until we're willing to invest in our county.
How many hours is full-time for a county employee?
For a county employee, I believe it is 28.
And so you've been chairman for 5 years?
Correct.
Okay. Is there one last thing you want to do before you leave office, or something you want to work on that's most important to you?
There's a lot of things that I want to do. There's a lot of things I've been wanting to do. The budget, I feel like, is the biggest thing that I feel like I need to work to get completed. We have to have a budget passed by the 30th of September, so I trust that will get done. There are several things that I'd like to get pushed forward that we've been working on for months and years in some cases, but ultimately some of that stuff will continue on. Ultimately, that stuff's, a lot of that stuff's going to continue on, but hopefully, my hope is that in the past 5 years, those things that need to continue, that a good enough base has been created that those projects or processes will continue. One of my goals, and the commission's goals when we came into office in 2012, was to create an atmosphere and a process where when the next group came in, they didn't have to basically start from scratch or create something new. They could amend what was there or change what was there, but to have some structure and in place of how things operated and how things worked. And that's what I hope that we've created in some of the things that we have done, and we've not done near the things we've wanted to do, but in some of the things that we have done, I hope that future commissions will have a little bit better time with those processes and can move on and continue to create, look at other processes and policies that need to be created. Work on that base. That's been our goal.
Is the deficit spending, is that based on what the departments ask for each year and then what you have coming in? And so that creates the deficit?
And let me clarify something on how we do the budget. The deficit is that we have more dollars going out than we have revenue coming in. That's what our deficit is. The way that we budget in Jackson County is not a process of here's what I want, what are you going to give me? We have a very communicative, a very cohesive, let's sit down and talk about what you've got, what you need, what's going on, what can you cut. We would not be where we're at right now if it weren't for our department heads coming to us and instead saying this is what all we need, they come to us and say, well look, I didn't spend all this year, let's reduce this line item. That's why we are where we are. And the reason that happens is because the employees understand the condition that we're in, and they don't just say, oh, there's money there, let's go spend those dollars. So it's not a matter, I want to clarify, it's not, here, this is what I want. It really is let's sit down, let's talk about what's there, let's talk about what's actually used, and let's come up with together what we think is the best path for this department going forward. And then, of course, the commission is involved in that process when we get the whole thing together, especially, and we move forward from there. But yeah, the deficit is we've got more dollars going out than we've got coming in.
Well, how do you pay for those items then if it's 300,000?
Cash. We had I think some of you are hearing the broken record on this, but we have when we first came into office, there was about $1.2 million set aside for, or 1.4 set aside for A-Trip, which was the road project. Those dollars we decided we would finance that and maintain that $1.4 million. So that, along with a few other things that we've done over the years to try to put some cash back, has allowed us to cover that deficit to this point. So at some point that cash will be gone because there's nothing that's replenishing it. So once that cash is gone, the deficit stops and you've got to make extreme cuts. Like as we did the one year when we began to close courthouse on Fridays before we were kind of bailed out for that year. And then the next year we decided, well, we're going to go ahead and fund this deficit and see if we can't come up with a solution.
So I know it's a bad term, rainy day fund, but what is in that fund now and how many years can it continue at this pace?
Depending on, again, the decision with the 5% and all, it could go 2 more years. If we take that, it could probably go three or four more years.
Are you replenishing any money into the rainy day fund?
The dollars that come in, so, for instance, when we did the business privilege tax, we were allowed to hold a couple years of those dollars. And then it was determined, well, no, we've got to start paying out. So those dollars that we were able to take for that, I guess, was really a year that we were able to keep. I mean, that was about $400,000 that went into that fund. So, but that's not going to happen again.
Right.
But yeah, that was.
Do you recall off the top of your head what the amount of money is in that emergency fund?
I don't. We can get a cash balance. It's always difficult, though, to determine your cash balance because you really don't know till September 30th once everything's paid out. And even at that point, you've still got an extra payroll that's not been accounted for. But September 30th is the best time to look at your cash balance because that gives you the most clear picture of what you've actually got left over in your bank account. And it's a general fund. It is our general fund account that has those cash dollars.
The county website, is that up and running yet? The new
It's not. It should be in October.
October. Okay.
And we plan to put information and that'll be a very good way to share information that we've not had in the past.
Yep.
Do you expect the person who replaces you to finish the court reform audit that y'all started?
Yes, I believe so. That process is going forward, so we'll continue to review that, and that may again come into beyond September 30th, but I'm sure decisions will be made on that at some point too.
Is there a finish date of the audit and report date?
There is no finish date, no.
Talking about the court referral on.
There is no finish
Okay.
date, yeah.
Do you want to expand on where your next part of your journey will be going, or?
I'll suffice to say that I will be working in Huntsville at this time, I'll say that. But I do plan to, I hope to remain involved here. I've got a 5-year-old who's just started kindergarten, and I'm ready to get him involved with Cub Scouts. So things like that I want to be involved with, and I'll say this message here because I think it's important. Our leaders are incredibly important to our community, but our leaders are absolutely nothing. Just like the county or any operation is absolutely nothing without the folks that work day to day. Our county is absolutely nothing without our citizens. And I hope to be involved as a citizen to show the importance of what we as citizens can do. We as citizens are the ones that control our fate. We're the ones that elect our leaders, that make decisions on where things go. So I hope to remain involved in whatever capacity to help spread that message.
If you could say one problem, or not just a problem, but maybe a solution sorry occurred during your tenure here, if you could put out one thing that you think, or maybe even two things, that's most important that you've seen, or one thing that you think is most important that it has to be accomplished at some time in the near future.
It's our financial issue, and I'll expand on why. The county I feel like has to solve this issue that continues to bog us down. We have the opportunity to make this county even more spectacular than what it is. We have the resources here. We're not taking advantage of those resources, and we're not doing a lot of things that we could be doing to make the county an even better place. When we talk about jobs, and we're talking about how we recruit those jobs, when we talk about we want more restaurants and different types of restaurants, when we talk about what we have accessible to us from a recreational standpoint, all of those things are things that can and should be done for our county. But ultimately, it's not going to happen unless we invest dollars and time into our county. So I feel like from the county commission side of things, we can be a huge piece of that to stimulate that growth, but we have to be able to invest in that. And right now, the county commission is not in a position where we can adequately invest in business development, in industrial development, in parks and recreation, and all the other things that go along with that. We don't want to grow and bust out of our seams in a sense, but we definitely have to grow to an extent if we want to stay alive. So in order to do that, we have to be willing to invest in our community, and from the county commission side, I think that investment comes from fixing our financial situation, investing in our employees, and investing in all those things that I just said, from our infrastructure to our economic development to our roadways and all of those things that come into play when we're talking about seeing our community move forward.
Can I ask you another question? I just stumbled by, I'm sorry, I didn't know what was going on. I understand that with opening Bellefonte, with Haney, that there was a concession made somewhere in the amount of $500,000, and that he would not have to pay into the county once he took title to that property out there.
The county has made no decisions on any incentives.
Okay. But has that been offered to him by the delegation?
I don't know what's been offered by the state. I know that the county and that no decisions have been made locally, and my understanding is that some of those decisions will have to be made by us. A lot of those decisions can be made by the Economic Development Authority or the IDB.
How do what's the interaction between the two on deciding to give those or not to give those?
We're usually made aware before something happens, and we're usually involved in the process.
And how would that impact the county's finances if those are granted? I mean, would it be more dire for the county if those are taken away?
It's not more dire, but it's definitely a place that could be beneficial if we could receive some dollars.
If you're able to get those,
Right,
then it
yeah.
would certainly help.
I mean, we're pretty dire.
Yeah,
And the lieu of tax is gonna drop. I still estimate another $400,000 or $500,000, not counting the 18th fiscal year. We've got 2 more years, so that's still another $400,000 that we're going to lose.
Before you leave, do you plan to find out about the $1 million that's still at the delegation, to try to get that taken care of, or is the next person just gonna try to?
I mean, my understanding as far as those dollars go is that they're still there trying to determine what the best way to handle that is. So, I mean, I'll continue to work to see if there's some type of solution as long as I'm here. I can't say whether or not there'll be one.
What's the holdup on those funds?
I don't know.
Is it $1 million or is it more than $1 million?
It should have been about $1 million.
Is there, have you heard any more about the lawsuit that was instituted by Commissioner Clemens?
My understanding, I don't believe there is one still pending any further.
Dismissed? Okay.
Have you seen a huge change in relationships since you've been in this office between the commission and the city of Scottsboro, or the commission and the delegation? Like when you started, was the relationship?
Now that you ask me tough things. What I'll say is we try to work with anybody and everybody. And there are a lot of decisions that we don't have the authority to make. And, you know, whatever our situation has been in the past, all I can say is that we need to work our best to try to come up with a solution for the future. And as far as, you know, what's going on with the city and all the municipalities, you know, currently with everybody that's there, I think we've got a very good working relationship with those municipalities, and I hope that the county maintains that, because again, we have to have that cohesion if we want to move forward.